On September 20th, BYU versus ECU. BYU is up by only 3 points. The offense for BYU had been struggling, and ECU was pinned down on their 1-yard line.
It lost! Muffed! ECU has to hop on it. Mad dash for the foot.
It was time for BYU's defense to take over and make a play. Then all of a sudden, one of the most masterful display of scheme, disguise, defensive IQ, and athleticism presented itself in the game. Evan Johnson for BYU made the pick and returned it into the end zone for 6. Let's rewind this play for a bit. For a lot of viewers, this looks like a standard dumb luck athletic play. However, if you look a little deeper, you will find out that this play took hours of preparation, film study, luck, and freakish athleticism. How do we know this? Well, the stats show that BYU's defense as of September 25th, 2025 is number 1 nationally in total defense, scoring defense, and first downs allowed. So what made this interception possible for BYU? Did BYU carefully scheme and plan on this interception? Yes, in this video, I will break down how BYU manipulated ECU into throwing this devastating pick 6 and go over the step-by-step breakdown on how ECU was tricked into making this throw. Even if you are not a big football fan, this video is for you, as I hope to give you an appreciation of the chess match that goes on in football. And maybe once you understand the X's and O's, you may end up enjoying watching football. Let's get to it. In football, many coaches refer to the football game as a chess match or even a cat and mouse game. But what if I told you that I have a different view of the sport? What if I told you that the football game in college and NFL is more like a dungeon with treasure in the end? Like Indiana Jones grabbing the treasure in the first movie, or Aladdin getting the genie's bottle out of the cave. In each of the scenarios, the main character must detect and go around the traps that protect the main treasure. Those traps in the dungeons are the defensive schemes. The main character is the offense, and the prize or the treasure at the end of the traps and around the traps is the end zone or the touchdown. So how does BYU set up the trap-ridden dungeon for ECU? The answer: you must know your opponent's strengths and weakness. Very simply, BYU had to do this with film study and preparation. BYU studied ECU's offense. They understood ECU loves passing the football more than the average college football team. In fact, a lot more. The stats show that ECU, as of September 23rd, 2025, ranks number 9th in the NCAA for passing attempts per game, on average 41.3 attempts. ECU's QB, or quarterback, does not get sacked much either, as he gets the ball out on a blistering speed of 1.95 seconds. And ECU runs a very high-tempo style offense. Look at these few plays as ECU plays against NC State. Look how fast the ball leaves the quarterback's hands. ECU's offense is very skilled and challenging, but it does not come with some setbacks. BYU realized that they could try to exploit ECU's weakness in the offense. What is the weakness, you may be wondering? Typically, when offenses run at a fast tempo, and they tend to throw passes quickly to the short routes. One of ECU's favorite routes to run were the hitches, a route designed to get the defender upfield and the offensive player quickly turns around and takes a few steps back. With anticipation and timing, it's hard for a defensive back or a DB to get back to the ball to make a play. Let's look at the NC State game again. The DB covering this receiver for ECU is lined up far away from the receiver. Look at how much space there is between them. With a quick small hitch, look where the DB is relative to the receiver. This is known as sometimes as an easy pitch and catch. ECU's QB or quarterback is reading the defense before the snap and is making a preset decision on where he will throw the ball. He notices the DB is so far away, and in his mind, he will throw to the receiver as soon as the ball touches his hands. The NFL, the best of the best quarterbacks, do not get the ball out this fast. On average, they actually typically get the ball out at 2.78 seconds. ECU's quarterback, again, on average is getting rid of the ball at 1.95 seconds. BYU will use this knowledge to their advantage. Let's look at BYU's defense on this play and compare the distance between the DB and receiver. It looks like the same distance, but why were the outcomes so different? This is where the disguising of the defense comes into play. Disguising the trap or the bait that is so irresistible to the quarterback that they are beyond overly tempted to take the bait. The QB for ECU is like Abu off the Aladdin in the Cave of Wonders. Abu sees this big, shiny, expensive ruby and cannot control himself to touch the treasure. The distance between a DB and receiver was the first temptation to the QB. The second was the pre-snap read. Currently, as you see on the screen, BYU's look in pre-snap is man defense with a single high safety, or is in 1/3 coverage. Typically, when a quarterback sees this defense, he will think, I have the hitch route here because the DB will not gamble to jump in front of the ball. Because if the DB were to miss the ball, the receiver will go on to make a big play. However, BYU is a master of disguise. As soon as the ball is snapped, the safety rolls over to Evan Johnson's side, and another safety runs to cover his half, meaning that this defensive coverage was actually a cover 2 man, allowing Evan Johnson to play more aggressively using his cat-like reflexes toward the ball, knowing that if he were to miss or get beat, the safety would be behind him to help. Since ECU's so fast at getting the ball out, the QB did not notice the rolling of the safeties after the snap, and in 1.95 seconds later, the ball is caught, but not by his receiver, but to Evan Johnson, going the opposite way for 6 points. What's more surprising is even with this knowledge, the space between the DB and the receiver is still very large, and it's very hard to make this play. It takes someone with NFL level speed and athleticism to get to the ball. Typically, you wouldn't make that play without knowing your defensive schemes and the offensive tendencies, making this play a very good IQ and athletic play. I hope that this video was able to help you understand more of the X's and O's in football and help you have a bigger appreciation for the mental aspect of the game. If you think I missed something or would like me to cover something else in depth, please leave me a comment. Thank you again, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel, as this will help me gauge what interests you. Thank you, and see you next time.